You don't become unrecognizable when life gets easier, you become unrecognizable when you stop recognizing the person you used to accept being. Ronan didn't remember the exact day everything started feeling wrong. It wasn't a dramatic breakdown. It wasn't a single failure. It was slower than that. It was the kind of change you only notice when you look back too far and realize you don't belong there anymore. At 24, Ronan was living in a small, tired apartment just outside Portland, Oregon. Not the kind of place people post online. No aesthetic lighting. No motivational posters. Just four walls that had seen too many versions of him trying to convince himself that soon would arrive. Soon I'll change. Soon I'll start. Soon I'll figure it out. But soon has a way of turning into years without ever announcing its arrival. His life was repetition disguised as stability. Wake up. Work. Return. Scroll. Sleep. Repeat. The warehouse job he worked wasn't terrible. It wasn't good either. It was the kind of job that doesn't ask who you are because it already decided you're replaceable. Boxes. Labels. Conveyor belts. Instructions that never changed, and people who stopped expecting anything to change with them. At first, Ronan told himself it was temporary. Everything was temporary if you believed long enough. But belief without movement slowly turns into comfort. And comfort is where potential goes to die quietly. Every morning started the same way. Alarm ringing at 6:40. His hand hitting snooze without thinking. Eyes staring at the ceiling while his mind ran calculations he never solved. How long am I going to do this? Is this really it? What am I waiting for? And then the same answer every day, nothing. Because nothing was coming unless he moved first. But moving requires something most people underestimate. Energy. And Ronan didn't have much of it anymore. Not physical energy. Mental weight. The weight of doing something that doesn't feel meaningful long enough that you stop questioning it. That's how people disappear inside their own lives. At work, Ronan became invisible in a different way. Not ignored. Just blended. He learned the rhythm of pretending to be fine. Smiling when spoken to. Nodding when necessary. Laughing at jokes he didn't register. Not because he was fake, because survival teaches adaptation before awareness. Most of his coworkers were the same. Some older. Some younger. All moving like time was something they had already lost. But something started changing inside him. Not suddenly. Quietly. It began one night when he came home later than usual. The sky was already dark, heavy with that late-night silence that makes everything feel more honest than it should. He didn't turn the lights on immediately. He just sat on the edge of his bed. Work clothes still on. Phone in hand. Scrolling. Not even choosing what to watch anymore. Just consuming. Until it hit him. Every life he was watching looked like motion. Even struggle had direction. Even failure had movement. And his own life didn't feel like motion anymore. It felt like repetition without destination. That's when he paused. Not physically. Mentally. And in that pause, he saw something he had avoided for a long time. Not depression. Not failure. But stagnation. And stagnation is more dangerous because it doesn't hurt loudly. It numbs quietly. He looked at his reflection in the black screen of his phone. Same face. Same eyes. But something inside the gaze felt paused. Not tired. Not angry. Just, unfinished. And a thought appeared without permission, this is who I've become. Not who he wanted to be. Not who he planned to be. Who he actually became through repetition. That night, sleep didn't come easily. Because awareness is heavier than emotion. Emotion fades. Awareness stays. The next morning, nothing outside his life changed. But something inside him did. He didn't hit snooze. For the first time in a long time, he just got up. Not motivated. Not inspired. Just decided. And that decision felt small, but small decisions are where identity begins to shift. At work that day, everything felt slightly different. The same machines. The same noise. But his attention was sharper. He noticed patterns instead of just tasks. People repeating the same conversations. People stuck in routines they stopped questioning. And a quiet realization formed: no one here is coming to save us. That thought didn't scare him. It clarified him. Because clarity removes excuses. During lunch, he didn't scroll. He just sat. Watching people without distraction. Observing behavior instead of escaping into noise. And slowly, a question formed: what if nothing is wrong with my life? What if I'm just not changing it? That question stayed longer than any motivational thought ever had. Because motivation tells you to act. Awareness tells you why you haven't. That night, Ronan did something unfamiliar. He opened a blank document on his laptop. Not to plan. Not to dream. Just to write honestly. At first, nothing came. Then slowly, I feel like I'm wasting my life. Pause. I keep waiting to feel ready and it never comes. Pause. I don't even know who I'm supposed to become anymore. And there it was. The truth he had been avoiding wasn't that he had no direction. It was that he had been avoiding responsibility for it. Because responsibility removes comfort. And comfort is addictive even when it's painful. Over the next few days, nothing external changed dramatically. But internally, something irreversible had started. He stopped negotiating with himself. When he said he would wake up, he did. When he said he would learn something, he did. Not perfectly. Not consistently at first. But repeatedly enough to create friction against his old identity. And identity doesn't break instantly. It resists. It pulls you back. It whispers, you were fine before. You don't need to change. This is enough. But Ronan started noticing something important. Every time he ignored that voice, he felt slightly stronger afterward. Not happier. Stronger. And strength builds identity faster than motivation ever could. Weeks passed. Then months. His routine started changing slowly. Work in the day. Learning at night. Small progress. Small failures. Small improvements. But something deeper was happening beneath all of it. He stopped identifying as someone who was trying. He started acting like someone who already decided. That shift is subtle. But it changes everything. Because trying allows exit. Decision removes it. At work, people noticed. You've been different lately, someone said. Ronan didn't explain. Because explaining change to people who haven't felt it yet is exhausting. Instead, he just nodded. Different wasn't the right word. He wasn't different. He was leaving an old version of himself behind. Not physically. Mentally. One evening, a coworker joked, "You acting like you're gonna become someone big or something." Ronan paused. Then replied, "I'm just done being small by habit." That silence afterward felt heavier than the words. Because people recognize truth even when they don't agree with it. 6 months in, exhaustion became familiar again. But now it had meaning. Not suffering for nothing. Suffering for change. And that difference matters more than people realize. Because pain with purpose builds direction. Pain without purpose builds resignation. Slowly, he started freelancing online. Small projects. Learning skills no one around him understood yet. Writing. Editing. Marketing basics. He failed often. More than he succeeded. But failure stopped being identity confirmation. It became iteration. And iteration is how people quietly rebuild themselves. There were nights he doubted everything. What if I'm just delaying failure in a different form? But then he would look at his old self mentally. The version that stayed stuck. The version that didn't even try. And he realized something: even uncertainty forward is better than certainty backward. Eventually, the warehouse job ended. Not dramatically. Just a resignation. A decision. No applause. No announcement. Just exit. The world didn't react. Because the world doesn't notice when one version of you disappears. But you do. And that's enough. The first weeks after leaving were unstable. No fixed income. No structure. Just discipline holding everything together. Some days felt heavy. Some days felt empty. But none felt like going back. Because going back requires forgetting what you've seen. And once you've seen your own potential clearly, ignorance stops being possible. Months later, things stabilized. Work came in. Skills improved. Confidence grew quietly. Not emotional confidence. Behavioral confidence. The kind built from repetition, not belief. One night, Ronan stood in a new apartment in a different city. Different walls. Different silence. Different version of life. He looked in the mirror. And for the first time, he didn't see the old cycle staring back. He saw someone unfamiliar. Not because he became someone else. But because he stopped being who he used to tolerate. And that's when he understood, becoming unrecognizable isn't transformation. It's replacement. The replacement of excuses with discipline. The replacement of waiting with action. The replacement of someday with today. Later that night, he recorded a simple message: I didn't change because life got easier. I changed because I stopped accepting a life that required me to stay the same. He paused. Then added, if you feel stuck, you're not stuck. You're just repeating choices you haven't questioned yet. And finally, the moment you stop going back to who you were, you start becoming who you were supposed to be. Silence followed. Not empty silence. Complete silence. Because that's where transformation actually ends. Not in arrival. But in decision. Ronan didn't become perfect. He didn't become finished. But he became irreversible. And that is what becoming unrecognizable really means. You don't become someone new, you become unrecognizable the moment you stop returning to the version of you that gave up too easily.